There we go. Now we're live on YouTube. Hello, YouTube folks. Welcome. Give me a quick roundup of where everybody's from, please, in the comments. Usually we take about a minute for folks to arrive. And then, I'm listening to myself. That's never a good thing. There we go. There we go. Now I'm back. All right. Yeah. Let me give a sense where you guys are from. And then we'll start. 200 already. Excellent. Hey guys, we just usually like to do a little roundup in the comments of where folks are from. Instagram folks, welcome as well. You're up there on my phone. YouTube folks and Facebook and Twitter, etc., are down here on my laptop. So that's why I go back and forth. Indiana. Excellent. And actually, for the YouTube, actually today won't matter as much because I don't have videos to share. But when I've got UK, excellent. When I've got videos to share, it's they don't get shared on Instagram. They'll only get shared on the YouTube, Facebook, Twitter video. So in the future, you might want to try that. The YouTube connection is my account is John Aravosis DC, John with an H, John Aravosis DC. But yeah, we'll keep doing the hellos here. BC Columbia, BC Canada. Sorry, I had a nap today, which makes me feel better, but it's also making me wonky, like groggy wonky. So, okay. I'll give folks a quick. Actually, you know what? We got a decent number of people. Why don't I start? So, anybody who's new, welcome. I'm John Aravosis. I am a foreign policy expert, among other things, here in Washington D.C. I've been here about 30 years. And started on TikTok many months ago, when the war started, decided to just start doing daily TikToks all day long, updating folks on the war, because I thought it would be nice to do sort of short updates on important news all day long, things that I thought was important, but also hopefully explain to folks why it's important. That's been doing really well. We had a little glitch. Hey, England and Austria, Italian and Austria. Meglio. So basically we had a little glitch last week. I was doing live updates, these lives on which people were really liking on TikTok. We got about 15 or 20,000 people, like in the last one, 5,000 simultaneous. It was great. And the Russian trolls complained and got me banned. So my TikTok account is live. I can still do the short videos, but I can no longer do these lives Q&As with you guys because, quote unquote, they were hate speech. And I was like, really? So, a lot of you guys weighed in with TikTok. A lot of my friends on Twitter also weighed in. We finally made first contact with real human beings at TikTok. So folks are looking into this. I actually got, and we'll jump right in now with the substance, but I actually got an update from TikTok yesterday where they thought the problem was solved. And they said, oh, your account doesn't have any strikes against it. You're fine. Your live stream should be fine. I tried it. It didn't work, which is making all of us a little suspicious as to what actually happened, because if my account doesn't have any strikes against it, how did it get banned? Interesting question. So anyway, yeah, let's jump in right now, guys, folks. What we've got is, I always say for the YouTube folks, the TikTok equivalent is of all the little fun things you can put on the screen and everything that also ends up being a donation to me, so I appreciate it, are the super stickers. You find them in the $sign at the bottom of the chat box. Right below the chat box, there's a little $sign. Touch it. It won't cost you anything just to touch it. And you'll see super chat and super stickers come up. Super stickers are the stickers that pop up in funny little animals and things that are cute, just as a way of saying thank you. And super chat is for comments. Now, for each of them, apparently how much they cost decides how long they stay. It's all kind of confusing. What I'm doing for the comments to make it easy for folks, as you can see, we get a lot of people here. The comments are usually full. Even when we don't have trolls, we've got a lot of comments. And I will do a news rundown first. Usually that's about half hour or so. And then at the half hour mark, we'll switch to Q&A. And I try to go through as many comments as I can, but there's way too many. So I go through as many as I can, but at the same time, if you do a super chat comment, thank you, Richard, by the way, for the sticker. If you do a super chat comment, I will answer that comment at the next break. Meaning, if I'm on some story right now and I see a comment come up in super comments, I will finish the story, that little story, and then I'll do your question. So that way, it's a way of you, again, supporting my work is the idea, and of me, and also, frankly, getting your question out there. But nonetheless, I will go through every question anyway and try to pick them. There's always too many. And thank you, Rebecca, as well for that, for the sticker. There's just always too many. All right, guys, let me just jump right in. So again, a lot of news today. I'm going to try to maybe breeze through some of it because I prefer doing the Q&A with you, but there's a lot of interesting stuff today. The Pentagon, just to give you sort of an overview of where the war is, the Pentagon briefing today said that the advance on Kyiv, the Russian advance on Kyiv, the capital, which is obviously the big prize they want, has stalled, and it is still stalled. It has been stalled for several days. One former general says Russia's chances, a U.S. general, a former U.S. general says Russia's chances of success in Kyiv are low, meaning of actually ever taking Kyiv. He says it's because they don't have enough money, their air force sucks. We know that also the supplies to their men has been really bad. They don't have food, they don't have water, they don't have munitions, they don't have fuel for their Jeeps and everything else. So it's been really bad. Very low chance of them taking Kyiv. What he thinks they're going to do, because they don't have enough men to take the entire city, they're going to try to take a part of Kyiv. And in other words, the parts of the city that contain the government offices are what they're going to go after, the Russians. What do we got here? He also says that he thinks the battle could take 4 months. It'll at least be weeks once the Russians actually get there, and currently they're stalled. But once they get there, it's a battle that could take months. And again, he still thinks the Russians' chances of winning are very low. This was not Mark Hertling. This was another guy who I follow. I'd have to go look again now. I don't have it in front of me. I follow him on Twitter. He's very good, and he does these sort of 25 tweet threads, these long tweets in a row. And just another, a former major general. I don't know beyond that. Again, it's on my big computer, and I can't go over now, but very interesting. The New York Times says, this was another update I thought was interesting. Oh, yeah, this is great. So this is what the Ukrainian strategy is currently now, as of today, or as of the last few days. The Times says that this is a quote from the Times, rather than seek to regain lost territory, Ukrainian forces tried to cause as much destruction and death as possible, attacking Russian troops and equipment with tanks, fighter jets, and artillery. Now, what this means is the Ukrainian troops are not fighting on taking back land the Russians got. What they're doing is they're focusing all of their manpower and their weapons on killing Russian troops, period. And it's an interesting approach because think about it. Thank you, Chris and Ted. If they were to be getting the land back, that's fine. But let me put it this way. They wouldn't be killing as many Russian troops if they were going after the land as they would if literally the only goal was to kill Russian troops. And yes, the Instagram folks are getting a Sasha view in the background. They want to inflict as much pain as they can on the Russians. And the idea, I'm sure, is not vengeance. The idea is we already know there's morale problems with the Russians. I saw something reported today that was more Russian troops talking about, who are now prisoners of war, talking about how their entire, whatever group they're with, I don't know how large the group is, but this a guy in a tank talking about his entire group, when they found out they were going to Ukraine, because they were told they were just doing exercises, all of them got together and said, we don't want to do this. We just don't want to do this. And what the experts were saying on TV is that is just, not surprisingly, incredibly damaging to morale. You can find these troops who literally don't follow through on their orders. They poke holes in their gas tanks so that they can say, oh, my Jeep, my truck, my tank doesn't work anymore. The morale thing is really huge. So that's why I think you've got the Ukrainians really going after the Russian troops to get the maximal, going after the troops, because they're just trying to, they're already inflicting so much pain, they want to inflict that much more and hope that the Russians just buckle. Ironically, if you think about it, it's part of what the Russians are doing to the Ukrainians. Now, part of what the Russians are doing by going after civilians is just brutal, horrible punishment. I mean, it's what the Russians do. But part of it is trying to break their morale. Now, it's not quite working because typically, here's what happens. You kill somebody's mom, wife, kids, grandma, you tend to inspire them to fight even harder, right? So there's an issue there. Jennifer, thank you. God, that was incredibly generous of you, Jennifer. Thank you. So it's not really working, but it is a similar idea of going after them to break their morale. Now, Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, spoke to Congress today, a joint session of the U.S. Congress. I'll go through the details. I'll make one little point. I was a little disappointed because at the end, when they gave him a standing ovation, but the standing ovation was literally like 20 seconds at the end of his speech. The Canadians went on for over 3 minutes, cheering. The Americans, literally, end of the 20 seconds was like this, and then they stopped. I don't know. I thought it was a little tacky, frankly, for my country. But here's the deal from Zelensky's speech today. He, again, called for a no-fly zone. We know this. He wants NATO to get involved and help guarantee that no planes are going to be flying over Ukraine without permission. He wants the U.S. to sanction all Russian politicians who don't resign. In other words, people who don't just step down and say, I'm not going to be part of this regime, whether I'm a state official or federal official. He wants the U.S. to close all our ports to Russian ships. I had no idea that our ports were even open to Russian ships. Ooh, Rebecca, thank you. I will do that after the, I will do that after this. Actually, you know what? I'll highlight Rebecca's, but we'll be getting to that question next. He wants to create a new union of countries to defend each other from attack and helping each other in humanitarian crises, which I thought was interesting. And he closed with a very moving video that, again, was calling for the no-fly zone over the country and was presenting sort of Ukraine before, the beautiful city, and then scenes of the exact same locations where kids were playing that are now bombed out. It was very, very moving. And on some images that were of dead bodies, it was very, very scary and moving. Let me jump to Rebecca's question, and then I will jump to what Biden did today, because Biden promised to send more weapons, some of which are really good. So that was excellent news. Okay, hang on a sec. I'm just, again, keeping my eye on the stickers and all, so I'm not missing you guys. So Rebecca Milan, with the civilians being targeted, when will we step in? Well, I mean, that's the question. I mean, we knew from the beginning that Russia was going to target civilians. We've also known for 3 weeks now, we're almost 3 weeks into the war, that Russia has been targeting civilians. And Russia is doing exactly what it did in Syria, right? Where they went in and just not even willy-nilly. Willy-nilly is giving them too much credit. They went in and intentionally targeted civilians to kill the civilians, right? So the question becomes exactly that. When will we go in? My concern is, in principle, we won't go in because we've already seen the civilians getting killed, and we already know that Russia kills civilians, and yet we have said World War III, right? We think, I don't, but we think there's going to be World War III if we fight the Russians, so we can never fight the Russians. If that's your thinking, then anything he does, even if he uses chemical weapons or biological weapons or even nuclear weapons, why would we get involved? Because I've said this in my previous episodes with you guys. If per se fighting Putin means the end of the world, then why would we ever get involved? Because per se it's the end of the world. So having said that, I think the civilian deaths are going to get so bad, especially when the Russians go after Kyiv, the Ukrainian capital. The images are going to be so horrific, and the Russians are going to do things so outrageous, several of which they did today, and I will be talking about some of them, that somehow the world is going to get involved. I just don't know how and what, but I have a feeling it's going to get to the point where people are just seriously upset in our countries, but it's not going to be for a while. It's as if the boiling keeps going up slowly. And Claudia Elizabeth, thank you very much for that. Let me get that. Now, Biden sending more weapons. This was actually really good news today. I wasn't sure initially whether he was going to do anything significant, but it's actually really good. So President Biden announces today, just making sure I didn't lose any questions. Nope. Thanks, guys. President Biden announces today weapons package to Ukraine. The most important parts are 7,000 small arms. So I'm assuming meaning guns and things like that. 20 million rounds of ammunition. That's nice. The two big ones are 100 Switchblade kamikaze drones. Now, I remember it might have even been CWBIM or whatever, or Casey, whatever your acronym is that you use, who was talking about it, but somebody was, or maybe MT was talking about it. But they are literally kamikaze drones that you fly in the air, you look for your target, and then you just have the drone attack the target. And the drone operator, it's got a GPS, literally has it and is just directing it like crashing a plane electronically, just crashing it into the target. It has an explosive and apparently is quite effective at blowing things up. Now, one thing that's interesting about this drone is, I'd read earlier today, it only costs, and I say only, you've got to think in Pentagon terms. It only costs, thank you, Luna, I appreciate that. It only costs $6,000 for each drone, but you can take out multi-million-dollar weapon systems with one drone. So in terms of warfare, it's incredibly cost-effective to have a $6,000 weapon that takes out a $2 million target, right? So that's huge. The other big thing we're sending are the javelins. And oh, wait a second, wait. The kamikaze was no, it's the javelins. The javelins. Okay, no, I was saying because I had information on this. The javelins we're sending are a traditional anti-tank weapon system, $8,200 range or 8,200 foot range, which is about 1.5 miles, and it's a tank killer. They've already got javelins. We're giving them a lot more. Again, very important for taking out the tanks. The final thing is there was talk today about I wrote down the S-300, which is an anti-aircraft weapon. It is used for going after aircrafts and cruise missiles. You can shoot it. The range is 46 miles. So I'm going to go with 55, 60 kilometers or so. And the altitude it can go up to, because mind you, you're shooting at planes, right? The altitude it can shoot up to is 82,000 feet. So we're talking 7, no, oh my God, not even 7. That would be 10, 12, 13, 14, 13 to 14 miles, right? 5,000 feet's a mile. So 13 miles up, which is great. 13 miles again would be, I'm going to say 17 kilometers up. I mean, it's huge how high this can go up. When you think of commercial airlines go at 40,000, 35,000, 40,000 feet when you fly like internationally or even domestically. Think of it being twice that distance of a commercial airline. So you can really take out fighter jets with this. But here's the trick with this. We are talking about it. Slovakia, I believe, not Slovenia. Slovakia has several of these and has said they are willing to offer them to Ukraine, but they want assurances from NATO that NATO will give them something else, Patriot missiles, something that they can use to defend themselves if they give these away. What worries me is this sounds a lot like that garbage we had with the MiG fighter jets, where Poland was willing, but if they only got other weapons and the U.S. got scared. So let's see what happens. But if those S-300s come through, the military folks think those are just huge. So that's excellent. On the diplomacy front, maybe some progress. I'm not very happy about this. Let me tell you why. So on the diplomacy front, there was talk today about, and Jennifer, thank you. I don't know if I'd thanked you, but let me make sure I did. I just saw that, Jennifer Boyer-Nazinski. Thank you so much. On the diplomacy front, there was talk about the Russians and the Ukrainians getting closer to some kind of deal where Ukraine had to be non-aligned, demilitarized, but they could still have an army, which means they're not demilitarized. And they couldn't have foreign bases on their soil, and they couldn't have foreign weapons, was I guess, the thing. And this was my favorite part. And like the US NATO and Russia would guarantee Ukraine's sovereignty in exchange. And I read that and I was like, what are you like? Do you think the Ukrainians are insane? First point, 1994. Ukraine agrees to give up around 5,000 nuclear weapons that it inherited from the Soviet Union when it was part of the Soviet Union in exchange for a security guarantee from the UK, from the US, and from Russia that we would guarantee the protection of their territory. What happened? The Russians invaded in 2014, stole Crimea, a peninsula in the south, and now they're trying to steal the rest of the country. And yeah, we're helping them with a lot of weapons, but are we really guaranteeing their border? No. To me, a security guarantee means if you attack me, if he attacks me, you will come and defend me. You will be my partner in this war. That's a security. It's Article 5 of NATO is a security guarantee. This is not. So I worry about that. I think we already broke our promise once. The second problem, and this gets me back to my problem with our officials when they talk about World War III and how if we fight with Russia, it'll be World War III. And I've explained this before, in American English, World War III is a euphemism for the end of the world, atomic bombs, end of the world, right? So if a direct fight with Russia and America is World War III, the end of the world, we all die, then why would we promise to defend Ukraine against a Russian attack in the future if we wouldn't promise to do it now? I mean, do you know what I mean? Like, if it's going to end the world if we defend them now, why would we be willing to defend them and end the world in the future? It's still going to end the world. It's the same analysis. The U.S. will go, if Russia attacks again in 10 years and we sign this treaty, we're going to go through the same analysis. We're going to say Putin, who's now, 115 years old, is crazy. He's got nukes. Oh my God, he's going to kill us all. And it's not worth going to nuclear war over Ukraine. It just doesn't. Anyway, the Ukrainians know this. I guess the issue for us will be, if and when they reach a deal, we need to make sure that it's a good deal for Ukraine, that it's a deal Ukraine wants, and not that Ukraine is forced to accept it because the Western powers got together and said, we're bored. And again, we're going to make you guarantees. The only guarantee for them would be joining NATO. That would be a guarantee. Short of that, I don't accept the guarantees. Quick little note here. Biden called Putin a war criminal today. That was interesting. He's been sort of a holdout on that. I believe Justin Trudeau had already done that maybe a week ago, called Putin a war, accused Russia of war crimes. Germany may have as well. There were some other countries. The U.S. did not. And finally, Biden did that today. The White House kind of weaseled a little when they were asked about it afterwards. They said something like, well, this is his personal opinion. It was just like, guys, come on, just own it. Just own it. He did a good thing. He looked strong. He was moral. He was right. Just own it. Don't try to weasel out of it. Anyway, Putin gave a speech. I'm not even going to play it. It was wild. It was about 3 minutes, or I had a 3-minute segment, but Putin gave a speech today in which he sounded out of his mind, angry. The sort of Kremlin watchers were saying they've never seen him this angry before. Mind you, he's like losing a massive war, so I'm sure he's angry. But it was kind of crazy. He was talking about fifth columnists inside Russia, and fifth columnists are basically traitors, like secret traitors that are working for the enemy in your society. And it sounded like he was talking about the oligarchs. That was the really weird thing. He was talking about the fifth columnists being the people who have their rich apartments abroad and they, live in Monaco and blah, blah, blah. And I'm listening to this and I'm going, like your daughter? Isn't his daughter the one that's in London or something? But I remember Putin's daughter's got something going on here too. But in any case, it sounded like he was talking about the oligarchs, but he was saying that their heart, even if they live in Russia, they have these homes abroad and their heart lives abroad. It doesn't live in Mother Russia. It was weird. And then he finally talked about how, going after them will be necessary to purge our country and to clean our country. And I mean, at this point, everybody was saying it was sounding a little World War II-ish, a little creepy about cleansing your country and purging the country. But anyway, sounds like he's losing it a bit, which I know doesn't make us very happy about the nuclear war thing. A couple good news things to report. I'm looking up. Yep. Okay, good. There's no. I want to make sure I didn't miss any of your guys' stickers or comments. A couple good news things to report. The mayor of Melitopol, a Ukrainian town, Ivan Fedorev. Remember, he was the guy that was kidnapped. Thank you, Ann. That was sweet of you. He was the guy that was kidnapped, and 10 guys rushed into his office and put a plastic bag over his head. I didn't realize it was one of you guys mentioned this, and I checked. Plastic bag. Talk about scary, which means it's almost like being waterboarded. You're like trying to breathe and you can't breathe. Kidnapped him. They've been kidnapping a couple mayors. Well, he was rescued today. First, we found out he was released, and we thought the Russians let him go, which was interesting. Well, the Ukrainian government said they rescued him. It was a rescue mission. So really, again, ballsy of the Ukrainian government. And also, damn, that they were able to pull that off against the Russians. I mean, damn, that's really cool. A couple years that were cool. It's just very impressive that they were able to pull that off. And the guy lived, frankly. General Hertling. Okay, somebody had mentioned General Hertling in the comments. General Hertling, former U.S. general, CNN commentator now, contributor, very smart guy. The military folks I know that have worked under him worship him. So excellent guy. And you can tell from watching him on CNN, I've just been the most impressed with him. Also, he engages with you on Twitter, which is kind of interesting too. He had said something the other day I didn't fully understand. I wrote him on Twitter. He wrote me back in a couple hours. Jerry, just nice to see. It's nice. I always get a kick on Instagram because the little hearts go up when you talk. It's almost like instant feedback. And all the hearts went up when I said it's nice that Hertling interacts with real people. So I agree with you. Thank you. So Hertling says, this was interesting. He did a series of tweets that might have been last night, but last night to today, after we did our chat yesterday. He says Russia has already lost this war from a military and strategic perspective. He says and I talked about this yesterday. He says the Russian offense will soon turn into defense. Meaning they're not going to be on the they're going to be on the defensive. The Ukrainians are going to be attacking them because of the troop losses, because the Ukrainians have killed so many Russian troops, and because of the supply shortages. Remember that 40-mile-long convoy, but lots of other convoys. The Russian logistics has been horrific for this war. They have to get food, water, fuel, and ammunition to their troops. And it's something I hadn't even, I don't do wars every day. I hadn't quite thought of that. But think about it. I mean, to make it really simple, you've got a 10-hour car ride. Well, you or me, we go on the 10-hour car ride and we go, oh God, I've got to get some food. Okay, I got to bring snacks with me. I've got to have water. Where can we stop along the way? We got to go to the bathroom. And where are we going to eat? And if we get tired, can we switch? Like, these are logistics. And we've got to fill the car with gas, tanks. Every day or two, a tank has to be refilled with gasoline or diesel fuel. Somebody corrected me on that, and I checked it. They take both. It depends on which tank. But the point is, all of this, you need new gasoline, you need new diesel fuel, you need new ammunition. You've only got so many artillery shells with you, only so many bullets. Well, it is a cluster F. It is a mess what's going on. Their 40-mile convoy is still gone nowhere, and it's not going anywhere, and it's slowly being picked up by the Ukrainians. The other convoys have been stopped, and this is why Hertling is saying he thinks the Russians have lost the momentum, if they had any, and they're now going to be on the defensive in a few days because they don't have as many troops, their morale is bad, and they have no more supplies. Now, he also added, he said, if Putin continues the war, the Russian army will go from being defeated to being destroyed. Very interesting. UK intelligence backed this up as well. The intelligence from the United Kingdom said today, or sources from them, of course, said that the Russians are desperately trying to find more men because so many of their men have been killed. And a third former general, the guy on TV who I'm forgetting now, no, excuse me, it was a third former general. It was probably the guy on Twitter I saw who made the exact same analysis, saying that we were soon going to switch from Russia being on the offense to defense. So that's just very interesting to me, that three different people. Now, everyone keeps saying they're still going to destroy Ukraine. They've got enough weapons to level Ukraine. It's going to look like Aleppo. It's going to look like Grozny. It's going to look like every disaster the Russians have ever done. The point is, can they win the war? Can they take it over? Can they own it? No. Can they occupy it? No. But they can keep destroying it and getting destroyed back. Hertling seems to think that after several months of that, you're not going to have anything left of the Russian army. The problem is you're not going to have a lot left of Ukraine either. That's the problem. Now, I left the bad news for last because I noticed in the last few we've been talking of all the bad news, and I felt like it was getting kind of depressing. But, you need to know the bad news too. The Chernihiv, this was a horrific story. In the Ukrainian town of Chernihiv, 10 a.m. this morning, north of Kyiv, the capital, 10 people were in line at the bakery to get bread, and the Russians bombed it, killed all 10 people. There's video. Obviously, I'm not showing you the video. The video is the bodies are grayed out. It was still clearly nothing I could put on TikTok, and I suspect nothing I would want to put on here, but absolutely horrific. Mariupol, I don't know. I pronounce these things as best I can, having studied Russian and speaking Greek, because the alphabets are actually very similar. So I'm going to say it's Mariupol. You might have heard about. Okay, so Mariupol first. What is Mariupol? This is the town where the Russians bombed that maternity ward. They cut off food, water, and heat to this town 2 weeks ago. I checked the weather forecast today just to see what's been going on in that town. The temperature range today in Mariupol, where they cut off the heat 2 weeks ago, and food and water, ranged, first in Fahrenheit, from 19 Fahrenheit to 35 Fahrenheit. Imagine your home has no heat. And especially if your home has now been hit with some kind of weapons of war where you've got holes in the walls. That is in Celsius for any of you guys in Europe and elsewhere. So the temperature range today from -7 Celsius to 1.7 Celsius. Imagine doing that with no heat for 2 weeks, which means at this point, your home is the same temperature as the outdoors. I can't even. Well, the Russians today bombed a theater. A theater in the traditional sense, meaning a drama theater where plays are done, not a cinema, but a theater. They collapsed the entire building. I saw video or photos of it. I forget which, but on CNN and then online as well. The entire theater, it's like a traditional old Russian theater. It almost looks like the Bolshoi from the front in a way. Collapsed. Nothing's there. It was housing, they believe, 1,000 refugees, 1,000 people from around town, families with children who were hiding from the war because they thought a theater would be safe. Why would the Russians bomb a theater? Just for good measure, they wrote the word in Russian for children in the field on both sides of the theater. It says really in big letters, children, children. And the idea was to say, we have children in here. Somehow it got bombed anyway, totally destroyed. The thought is hopefully these people were in the basement. Mind you, if the basement can fit 1,000 people in a theater, one hopes. Hopefully they're in the basement. I saw nothing yet on what the casualties are and what happened and whether people lived or died. But they said people were, from the last I saw, people were still trapped in the rubble. They hadn't gotten to them. And again, up to 1,000 people. And again, not just 1,000 people, but somebody had noted on Twitter earlier today, they said, the Russians have been bombing their homes. They're bombing the residences of these people on purpose. So the people all gather together and go into a shelter in a theater. And they literally put the words out there saying there are children here. So then the Russians bomb them there too. Just, yes, war crimes, but will the world actually hold them accountable? I'm skeptical. The Russians also shelled a humanitarian convoy of 70 vehicles, 70, near Zaporizhia in the south. That's that second nuclear plant that the Russians were going after and took over and all that kind of mess. And they were firing all their weapons at it. And basically, in retrospect, National Public Radio did an analysis with some experts of the video and said there actually could have been a nuclear meltdown. It was that serious, the threat of the Russians bombing this nuclear plant. Well, they bombed a convoy of 70 civilian vehicles, and 5 people were wounded, including one small child. At least, as current reports note, he's been killed. The final news story, and then we can jump in. And this is pretty good. We've gone about half hour. That was my hope for the news and then Q&A. The final news story, the bombing has finally begun around Odessa. The Russians are, as was suspected, starting a new front, moving into Odessa in the south. And I'll sort of explain the different fronts in a second. Bombing's begun. They haven't really started bombing Odessa yet. There are amphibious ships in the area, which basically are telling the experts that they are preparing an amphibious landing, meaning think D-Day. You get the troops, you come in by water, and then you've got to get on the beaches and then get into town. Well, this gets very interesting. Now, I'm going to tell you again, quoting General Hertling, who's that incredible general on CNN, former U.S. general. He weighed in about this and how stupid it was. And his point was that when you've got another front that is stalled, another front meaning, pincer, you're coming into Russia from multiple sides. So a front is, for example, Kharkiv in the northeast that they've been destroying. That was a front. They brought a bunch of weapons like this into Kharkiv. They brought weapons and soldiers. They brought a bunch of troops like this from Belarus going towards Kyiv, right? A bunch of troops coming in like this through those eastern territories that the Russians claim are independent, that the Russians want, and then a bunch of troops north through Crimea, the territory they stole from Ukraine like 8 years ago. A bunch of troops came there. So they got 4 different fronts. Well, what Hertling said is if you even have one front and it is stalled, meaning it's not advancing, the enemy is fighting so hard, you've got so many losses, right? Your equipment's falling apart, you don't have food, you don't have water, you don't have fuel, you don't have ammo, that you don't open a second front. And he said, you especially don't do it when you've got 4 stalled fronts, and this is going to be your 5th front in the war, because the point is you're dividing your men. You're dividing your men into 5 rather having your men as one huge force of one. He went on to say, and you really don't do it if you're landing on a beach, because landing on a beach is one of the most impossible things you can do, because again, think D-Day. You are most at risk of getting obliterated because you've got to come into the beach, land, and then everyone's taking pot shots at you from all the surrounding buildings and everything else. So it is insane. He said it was absolutely insane. He had some choice words for Vladimir Putin. Maybe I should have put that in the good news category, that one, because it just sounds like they're nuts. I don't know what the Russians are thinking with this stuff. I really don't. I mean, I would love to get somebody like Hertling and just like get him for the show, interview him for an hour and just be like, what are they possibly thinking? But in any case, that's it for the summary. we've got a good half hour. We'll sit here and take questions. And as always, for both folks to know and anybody who's new today, I see more YouTubers, although the YouTubers might be TikTokers. Who knows? We also sit around afterwards and just have a little chat. We just hang out and talk, shoot the bull about anything that isn't too heavy politics. So we'll do that afterwards. But at least for the next half hour, we'll just take questions. So jump in, folks. What do we got? And again, if you do the super chat thing, I will see it for sure. Otherwise, I'm still going to scroll around. And actually, Herides came from TikTok. Thank you. Let me scroll back a little because I always feel bad that I missed the questions on top because I'm always looking at the newest questions. Let me go. I'm looking at the hello, Scotland. I always like when people from Scotland are here. I love your guys' accent. It makes me happy. Bulgaria. That's right. I'm finally seeing where you guys are from. I was getting ready. Ireland. That's another place I've never been to, Bulgaria. The most I've been in Eastern Europe was East Germany when it was East Germany, which was fascinating. I went to Leipzig and then, of course, East Berlin itself. Absolutely fascinating. But Bulgaria, yeah, I would love to get around Eastern Europe. And then Greece, of course, where my family's from, but still. And then I want to get up to, I'm looking for questions here. Then I want to get up to Albania, where we have ties to, it seems, because my ancestral people are a group called Arvanites in Greek, which has ties to the northern Greece around Albania. We're sort of this large tribe of people, and it's been written up a lot, but I want to look up my ancestors. We know where they go back to around 1700s or so, but for Greeks, it's really tough because we don't have the written records that a lot of the Anglo countries do. Like my Irish and English friends have got stuff going back 1,000 years with their families, and I'm like, oh my God, the church recorded this stuff. Okay, sorry guys, I'm looking. Well, that's interesting. Okay, Son Goku. Hoping I'm pronouncing your name right. Where do you think Ukraine versus Russia will be 1 month from now? I mean, potentially in the same place. I mean, I think in a month from now, they're certainly going to be bombing the bejesus out of Kyiv, right? They may have taken some other cities, but they're going to level Kyiv, the capital, flat. And they're going to level it flat before they move in with their troops. Now, it's not going to be enough to help enough, I think, but that's where you get to that other question that somebody asked about, how many civilian casualties is NATO willing to accept? I feel like Kyiv getting obliterated. I mean, these videos are already bad enough when we're seeing an apartment building wiped out, or 2 apartment buildings, these high rises. Kyiv, the capital especially, apparently is a lot of high rises, because think of it as any capital city that's very crammed. You go up. So I think the deaths are going to be so horrific and the image is so horrific. But I don't think things are going to have changed by then much, other than the Russians getting more desperate and killing a lot more people. Anyway, just my guess. But yes, Hammond asks really quick. When I go back to TikTok, knock on wood, but it should be, since they see, I should knock. When I knock like that, the dog usually goes crazy. I shouldn't do that. When I get back to TikTok, if they let me back, I'm going to keep the YouTubes going because I like this. I think it's a nice. Somebody on TikTok and Instagram, we're going to see. You guys are on thin ice. We love you, but you're a small group. It's 30 of you versus like literally 5,000 TikTokers when I do the TikTok ones. But the YouTube thing has been nice. And even the people on TikTok who've come to the YouTube said they really appreciate like this sort of tight community we've got of the YouTube, how everyone chimes in and discusses. And on TikTok, there's so many comments and so many trolls too, that it's hard to have a back and forth. Whereas here, we actually have a back and forth, which is really nice, which is very cool. All right, guys, looking for more. And again, as I said, if you've got a question you want me to see right away, feel free to use the super stickers. Otherwise, I'm just going to scroll through and get to what I can. Actually, Ryan. Actually, I got a notice that I reported you, but I've never done that, so I wonder if there is a way to hack it. You got a notice that you reported me? You're kidding. You're kidding. Wow. Oh, that's scary. I'm taking a screen cap of that, Ryan. Jesus. Ryan, you want to send me an email? Can you send me an email saying that? My email address is simply my last name at gmail.com. You'll see my last name in the YouTube thing. But send me an email that just explains exactly what were you doing? Was it what did the report? Actually, if you can still find the report. Actually, you can look at notices going back a little ways. If you can still find that report and copy it for me and paste it into the, do a screen cap or something, or a picture with your camera, that could be incredibly, actually, that would be hugely useful to me. because I can send it to the TikTok folks right now and go, what's going on? Oh, okay, we do have some new questions here. This is one thing I don't like about this software. I'm trying to pull the question up so I can pin it. Hang on, guys. I can see your guys' questions. Hang on, I'm just trying to pin them for everybody else because I think it's a little nicer to actually see the questions. Okay, let me scroll back here. We've got a couple here. First, tribal flute. Any info on naval battles? The ship that bombed Snake Islands? Not really, no. I don't know that they've been having naval battles. Like we're hearing now, like I said, about some bombing coming from the sea, going around Odessa. They're not bombing the center of Odessa yet, but we've heard nothing about naval battles. Now, I don't know what kind of a navy the Ukrainians had, and whether I do know actually. Oh no, you know what I know? The Ukrainians may have done. Remember, they had a big ship that they beached. They blew a hole in the side of their ship. The Ukrainians did, and got rid of it so the Russians wouldn't get it. So I think the thinking was their navy was not big enough. The Russians would destroy them, and they beached their navy. But at least one of their big ships, I say beached it, whatever the term is, where you just blow a hole in the side and let it sink. So that way the Russians couldn't use it. So that's my suspicion on the naval thing. I suspect they sort of gave up on that one immediately, knowing they couldn't fight it. Daniel, my regular, good to see you again. Could the Belarusians revolt and overthrow the dictator? Yes. If they did, what might that mean for Putin? That's really interesting. From what I've been hearing, so Belarus is the other country that did this war with Putin, although the Belarusians haven't quite invaded, but they let the Russian troops come from Belarus and invade. If you look at the map of Ukraine, on the top of Ukraine border, on the west is Belarus, on the east is Russia, and then you've got like Kyiv in the middle, right? If you go straight up from Kyiv, Belarus, Russia. So the Russian troops came through Belarus and down as part of what they did. From what I've heard, Lukashenko, who's the dictator there, he's the one who forced that commercial plane down. Remember, like a year ago or something, he wanted to arrest a dissident, and he made up a fake reason to force a plane, claimed there was a terrorist on board, some terrorism thing, sent his fighters down and forced a commercial plane, an international jet, down to get this guy. I mean, he's a lunatic. He is a total Putin stooge and puppet. I heard that his approval rating is something like 10% or 12% literally in the country. And people I was talking to at least thought that therefore it would be very hard for them to enter the war because people would overthrow his government if he entered the war. So, the question becomes, has he been able to have enough of a dictatorship that he's able to stop them from overthrowing him? It wouldn't be great for Putin. I mean, he'd lose an ally, and frankly, his troops were coming in through there. So if they were doing any supplies through Belarus, they'd lose their supply lines as well. And even more so, what if Belarus then aligns itself with the NATO allies, at least allies itself? So now you've got, Ukraine with another ally on top. I think it would not be good. It might not change the war entirely, but it would not be good. Got Daniel, Tribal, Tiffany. Oh, hang on. I'm just scrolling back to make sure I didn't miss you guys. As I said, I like to CCV. Thank you, by the way, for that. B. Simpson. Update on the hospital was taken hostage. I have not heard anything. That's a really good question. No one's been talking about that today. Let me look really quick. I'm surprised. I don't mean to just look as we're talking, but that has not been on the news. I mean, I've been watching the news all day and I've been reading the news all day. The New York Times updates and other things. Let me do a quick look here, but Ukraine. Yeah, that was yesterday, and I'm forgetting which. Probably Mariupol again, because all they do is terrorize that poor town. But the 17 hours ago. There's no update. No. All the updates are 12 hours ago saying 400 hostages. So there's no. That's what I was thinking, because no one's talking about it today. So I don't know. Sorry. But it's a little strange that you'd think it would be a big thing in the news, because you've got apparently doctors and patients were there, the staff and the patients. Horrific. Absolutely horrific. Just scrolling back. I know there's another one. Don't worry. I'm trying to find them so I can post them. Here we go. Mary, is the International Court of Justice ordering Russia to halt the invasion meaningful in some way? Nope. That's why I didn't even report on it. I mean, it was nice. The International Court of Justice, Ukraine went there and said, Russia invaded us because they claimed we were committing genocide, and they claimed, I forget, something else, and that we were threatening them and whatever. And the International Court of Justice came out and said, no, there's no evidence Ukraine was committing any genocide, and there's no evidence, I think, that Ukraine had, attacked Russia or done anything else, and they ordered Russia to immediately pull out and go home. It doesn't mean, it adds to the international, is the word opprobrium? I always forget whether that's the positive or the negative, to the international scorn going on Russia. It does help take away a little of that cuteness from the Russians going, oh, we had to come in to save the world from the Nazis, having the top UN court say, there were no Nazis. This is a lie. So, in a moral way, it's nice. It's not going to make any difference, though. No. And they have no way of making them leave. There's no enforcement power. But, it's not a bad thing. Again, it's a nice PR victory maybe for Ukraine. So that's not a bad thing. We just had so much news, I didn't think it was worth mentioning it, which shows you, like I said, how much impact I think it's going to have. But again, it's not a bad thing. All right, scrolling down now. I've got tribal. All right, we got the Belarusians. Just want to make sure I've got, there is something. I knew there was. Ryan. What happened with Russia saying that the International Court of Justice didn't have the authority to judge them for war crimes? Well, I don't know. What's interesting about that, though, is the U.S. doesn't recognize the International Court of Justice either. So it's a little, my guess is that actually that may even, we don't recognize their jurisdiction. So there's an interesting question as to whether that's why our administration was being weird about calling it a war crime, because we'd be calling on the court we don't recognize, but whose jurisdiction we don't recognize to, hold the Ukrainians accountable, so there you go. But, no, I don't, but mind you, also there's, I guess, let me put it this way. As a lawyer speaking, that's the kind of issue that would happen once you go to court. I don't think they could be stopped from investigating. I think if they did the investigation and found, for example, the cops can investigate anybody they want. They can't stop the investigation. But when you go to court and the cops say, we've got enough on you to accuse you of a crime, you can say they have no jurisdiction. They found no evidence, whatever, right? They don't have, just that they don't have jurisdiction over me in this manner. So I would think, without knowing International Court of Justice, I would think that argument comes when you go to court and you say this court has no jurisdiction. It doesn't happen when they're investigating. They can investigate whatever they want. So, and there are still war crimes to investigate. Let me rephrase that. Everyday Ukrainians might commit war crimes if they're fighters and do the wrong thing. Ukrainian soldiers could commit war crimes. So they would still have an argument to say, no, we need to be there to review war crimes overall and let the chits fall where they may, right? Tiffany. The U.S. didn't get involved in Rwanda genocide, right? Only for exact things we are getting involved with now, except we didn't provide weapons. Yep, we'll hold off till Russia moves to another non-NATO country. I'm not sure what you mean by the last part of the question, Tiffany. Do you think U.S. will hold off till Russia moves to another non-NATO country? Do you mean we're not going to do anything and then Russia goes to another country that isn't NATO and then we don't do anything again? If you can, try to I just want to look here and again, make sure I'm not missing anything. If you can, try to throw that last part in again. And at the same time, hang on here. I want to make sure I also don't miss it here. I'm going to try to save yours here as well. So we can try not missing stuff here, guys. Got a number of you have got questions. Okay, yeah. So let me do Tiffany's. I'll still try Tiffany's. Well, okay. First of all, yes, there is the issue overall, which is really annoying, and I admit of we all pick and choose. We all pick and choose, meaning every country kind of pick and chooses where it gets involved. And frankly, Ukraine is kind of the same thing. Ukraine, we see a greater strategic interest than we did in Rwanda, but we still don't see a great enough strategic interest to actually give them the fighter jets they want to do a no-fly zone or to get involved in the war directly, right? So we're still doing a cost-benefit analysis that is still saying, even though we're really helping these people compared to the earlier people, we're still doing an analysis that says, we're going to help you, but not that much, right? If he kills you, we're going to let him kill you. So unfortunately, It's a tough discussion because you get into each country individually having to deal with its own internal politics, and whether a president wants to help, that president or prime minister still has to deal with their own citizens and whether their own citizens want to get involved in a humanitarian war, even though the rest of us get really ticked off. So anyway, it's complicated, so to speak. But I mean, in principle, Putin can keep moving on to non-NATO countries all he wants, and we're not going to get involved other than sanctions and supplying weapons. In principle, that's what we're saying. So, oops, let me see. And if you had any clarification, I'm happy to look at that too, Tiff. So, Tiff, like I know you. And by the way, and I still know there's more. I'm going to more questions here, and if I miss something, please let me know. Of all the questions I missed last night was my friend Patricia, of all people, who had put a super question in. For Mary, does the ICJ order Russia to halt have any significant meaning? For Mary? Oh, did somebody named Mary already answer this? I'm hoping. Kim? Well, maybe I'm highlighting this for somebody named Mary so she can answer in the comments. That's my guess. But as I said, I'm not convinced it does, but maybe Mary's got something else to add. So thank you for that, Kim. Scroll down. This is interesting. Marvelous Miss Kelly, do you think Biden will move troops to Alaska? Since Russia wants it back, Russia can invade Alaska easily if they wanted to. You know, I was saying from the beginning, when we were hearing that Russia was moving so many troops to Ukraine, and we were hearing that it was like 80 or 90% of Russia's forces or active forces that were being moved there, like a crazy number. I said, you know, why don't we rabble-rouse a little in the Pacific? Like, maybe we should move 5,000 troops to Russia. Like, I mean, we've got bases there anyway, but let's move another couple thousand men to Russia, just to not to freak Russia out, but so Russia's got to keep some more of their troops there in the East. So they realize, we can't just keep everything attacking Ukraine. You know, what's weird about that is there was some weird rabble-rousing this week about the Alaska stuff. I mean, what is problematic is they could certainly grab some islands that might be a problem before we get to it. You know, we have military bases in Alaska. Mind you, Alaska is the United States, so it literally is World War if they attack it, one would hope. And we do have a military base there anyway, so right away we would have, fighter jets and everything taking off and intercepting them. So, you know, who knows? Who knows? But I don't think Russia Russia probably does want it back. I don't think they're dumb enough to try to take some Alaskan islands, because it is true. I don't think World War III or not, we don't have a choice to enter the war if Russia actually attacks the United States mainland, or mainland, any of the U.S. territory. I mean, that I think just goes too far, even for us sitting things out. Mariah, oh, thank you. Anyway, so Instagram, Mariah just sent a nice note. I'm telling the Instagram people, thank you. That's sweet of you. I appreciate that. And thank you, because you still help me out anyway. So you are very welcome. All right. Rebecca, can Ukraine get into a position to target Russian bases in Russia to redirect the Russian army's focus? If so, what would it take? That's a really interesting question, because I was wondering about that too. I mean, I guess part of the problem is, I'm guessing they don't have long-term, they don't have cruise missiles and things that can go hundreds of miles into Russia, right? Maybe artillery and stuff. Part of the calculus, I mean, I was thinking that though. I was thinking, let me put it this way. The Ukrainians would not go after Russian civilians because they're civilized people. So they would not go and just bomb Russian cities. They could, right? They could certainly maybe try to shoot their artillery shells far enough or whatever to Russian cities, but they wouldn't do that. So they'd have to look for military targets. And I think the problem becomes, just my guess here, but your biggest threat right now from Russia isn't some munitions plant 50 miles away or some Navy base 100 miles away. Your biggest problem is the 70,000 active duty Russian troops that are inside your country trying to form a pincer coming at your capital. You know what I mean? So and you're afraid of running out of munitions at some point. The Ukrainians are too. So that I'm sure they're using what they've got, but they're probably still being careful to make sure they've got enough artillery, enough of this, enough of that. So they wouldn't just want to waste it on, let's scare the Russians by going after their cities. But I agree with you. It's a neat idea. I think to some degree, in a way, that's what they're doing. Let me have my water and I'll tell you one sip. What I reported earlier today, that the Ukrainian strategy so far up to now, or I should say up to now, is to go after Russian troops and basically kill as many Russian troops as possible. It is not to retake the land that they lost, which is what I thought it would have been. So what the Ukrainians are doing is saying, okay, you're sending your men at all of these. I mean, obviously they're going to defend Kyiv, the capital, but you've sent your men and you've taken Kherson and you've taken this town. And we've all seen, the red, whatever it is in northeastern Ukraine, the territory they command. And the Ukrainians are going, that's nice. And while you're doing that, we're going to go after your troops where they're most vulnerable and kill as many as possible. And we don't care about we'll get our land back when you're gone. But rather than fighting you where you want to fight, we're going to fight you where you don't want to fight. I think there's a Sung, I'm gonna actually get his name wrong. Is it Sun Tzu? I hate when I get tired of getting named right. You know who I mean, The Art of War. He's got some sort of theory of that, but I think that's what they're doing, and that seems to be the smartest, because also you're going to really, the Russian morale is not great with these troops. They were lied to. They don't like that they're fighting the Ukrainians, and they're inexperienced, and now they're getting their butts kicked, and I think they're scared. And they're going to get more scared the more casualties there are. So to answer your question, I think they're kind of doing it in a way, even though it's a little bit different. Just scrolling down. Catherine, what's your opinion on China's response to our warning? Well, China's been kind of weird. I mean, China, I was just reading this today. Like, okay, we've got China. My 92-year-old mom called me to discuss China today, which I thought was I love my mom. Very smart, but I love that she's 92 and she cares about stuff. So she called me. She goes, what's going on with China and Ukraine? I thought I heard something. I'm like, I love you. I'm writing myself a note here. Boop. So, Russia reaches out to China the other day and says they need supplies. And they want military and maybe humanitarian, whatever you want to call it. They wanted meals. They wanted the Chinese to Chinese to deliver meals. They wanted the Chinese to deliver military meals, meals ready to eat, that kind of thing, because the Russian meals were, I was reading, at least 6 or 7 years expired. They were sitting on this food for 6 or 7 years, and they never updated it, preparing for like a future war. So these guys have gross expired food, and so anyway, and asking the Chinese for military help too, anti-aircraft, weapons, things like this, possibly even manpower. Well, initially, the Chinese get asked about it, and their spokesperson says, we haven't heard anything about this. Well, that's kind of ornery right there to say that. You would simply have to say, we've got nothing for you at this point or something, but you don't say we haven't heard about it, because it just sounds dismissive of the Russians, right? Then the next day, clearly Putin got on the phone and went, what's going on? The next day, the Chinese turn around and say, we are open. Or the news at least says the Chinese say they're open to considering the Russian a petition for aid, right? Now that the sun is down, I can, turn my light down a little bit maybe. Whatever. I'm not going to worry about it. It's too hard to figure out. So then the China says they're open to it, but we don't know in what way. We don't know whether it's weapons or what. And now, at the same time, in the last couple days, at the same time, China has been making these sort of friendly comments about Ukraine and how they will continue to support the economic and some development of Ukraine, and sort of these weird. And Xi, the premier, has stopped calling Russia's invasion of Ukraine a special police operation, or whatever that phrase was that Putin used. Remember, it's not a war. And if you have a sign that says no war, you go to jail in Russia because it's not a war. The Chinese have now started to call it a war. Now, when you're dealing with a country that's as tightly wound as China, I mean, as big a dictatorship as China, these language changes matter. And the fact that Xi has now changed from using Putin's language to describe the war to calling it a war is a very interesting shift. It does mean something. It does mean a shift. Whether it's enough of a shift, who knows? But it's, the thinking, and who knows if it's true, is that the Chinese kind of signed on to this as the little war that was going to happen after the Olympics. Remember, the Chinese said, go ahead, just do it after the Olympics so that we don't, it doesn't interrupt the games. Well, it went from being a quick 3-day war. He was going to invade, take Kyiv, and win the war in 3 days, to it's now been 3 weeks, and they're talking about months. And Putin is just blowing up civilians left and right? Killing people in bakery lines, killing children, blowing up maternity wards, taking hospitals hostage, that China's getting a little embarrassed now about being tied to this war. So that's what people think is going on. And frankly, everybody likes to side with the winner anyway. And your team you picked, they're losing, and they're losing to a bunch of rabble rousers. I mean, I say that jokingly. Obviously, the Ukrainians are amazing, but Russia was supposed to just sweep the floor with the Ukrainians, and the Ukrainians are sweeping the floor with the Russians. So, do you want to be with the loser? Anyway, that's what I think is going on with China. But again, inscrutable, so we'll see. But Richard, is Putin saying those things today? Yeah, his crazy speech today, because the oligarchs are starting to turn him or pressure him. Well, that's what I'm wondering. So just to recap with folks, Putin gave a speech today that everyone thought was unhinged. And he was talking about the fifth columnists in our country. And for anybody who's not a native English speaker, a fifth columnist is a spy, a treacherous person hidden in your country that nobody knows they're there, but they're actually traitors and they're working for the enemy, but nobody knows. So he's claiming there are all of these fifth columnists in Russia, and they're people who eat caviar abroad and have luxurious homes in the French Riviera. He mentioned in London. He mentioned somewhere else. It was London or wherever he said, and how because of all their riches abroad, mind you, Putin gave them their riches, and he also gave himself the most riches. People estimate Putin may have a couple $100 billion with a B dollars that he's stolen from the government. But Putin gave all the oligarchs their money, that they have so much money and wealth abroad that they've forgotten their heart no longer lives in Russia. Even though they live in Russia, their heart no longer lives in Russia. Their heart lives abroad in the French Riviera. And then ended up talking about that, the country being unclean and needed to be cleansed of these people and purged. And how it would be the cleansing would be good for the country to get rid of these people. It literally sounded like World War II talk, as I say, to avoid the censors. It was World War II talk. Crazy stuff. So a lot of people, me too, thought it sounds like he's talking about the oligarchs. And the oligarchs are all the rich businessmen that basically, when the Soviet Union fell, the corrupt government officials gave the corrupt business people, I would say businessmen because it had to all be men, all the wealth. So they sold them like the state industries. Remember, the industries were being run by they were owned by the communists. They sold the state industries for nothing. And all of these guys got super rich and they give kickbacks to Putin, and it's a whole big kleptocracy, right? So anyway, Richard, that was my question. So Richard's question is Putin saying those things today because the oligarchs are starting to turn on him or pressure him? And I was trying to figure out what was going on because I read it as him attacking the oligarchs. And, that's all I can imagine, that either they have started to turn on him or he's afraid they will turn on him. And he's sending a message preemptively. And frankly, knowing Putin, who has killed political opponents, poisoned political opponents, killed journalists, killed opposition leaders, he's willing to kill people. He also threw an oligarch in jail for some kind of drummed up fraud charge. He is telling them, I'm happy to kill you, and I may just kill you, because now I'm talking about cleansing the country of you people, so watch it. He is clearly saying that, and maybe it's because of what you just said. Either he got an inkling, an intelligence report that they were starting to turn on him, or he is apparently very paranoid too. Apparently, Putin is considered to be extremely paranoid. That could be the reason too. He's just, everything's getting to him, and he's inventing enemies, which again, it feels like World War II. It's not the safest thing. Scroll down. Richard, we just got you. I thought there was another one. Yes, there is. Thank you. Okay, I've got to see. You guys use names I don't never know how to pronounce. Becklet. Thank you. That was sweet of you. Just making sure there's no other. Okay, there are still questions, and then I'll jump around. Franny, I'm not sure if you answered this one, but what happened to the 3 leaders that went to talk to Zelensky yesterday? I mean, they're fine. Interesting point. Nothing really happened with that. So yesterday, the prime ministers of Poland, Czech Republic, and Slovenia. Yes. I don't get them mixed up, meaning I always forget which one we're talking about. Slovenia, I think. I don't think it was Slovakia. God, correct me if I'm wrong, folks, in the comments, but I think it was Slovenia. But it was definitely Czech Republic and Poland got together and literally visited Kyiv and met with Zelensky, which was great. They had a nice talk. Zelensky said what he wanted. I remember there was sort of a strong show of support from the Poles. I'm not sure whether much came of it, though. The Poles, I'm missing this now. What was it that the Poles were talking about? Shoot. I'm forgetting now what they were talking about, but I don't think a lot happened because honestly, it wasn't even the news today. Like literally the meeting happened, it was in the news, and now it's gone. And it did not come up at all today in the news. I mean, I say at all. Maybe there was one little story somewhere, but it's not there, which makes me think not much. No, okay, let me say not much happened. You have a NATO meeting happening next week, I believe Tuesday, in Europe. Biden's going, and these are NATO countries. So they are going to be meeting with all the other NATO leaders, and this gave Zelensky a chance to one-on-one privately talk with these three leaders and to really have a heart-to-heart. And, the personal relationship matters. So it is very possible Zelensky was able to win them over further on things he wants. Maybe not the no-fly zone, maybe, but certainly like the MiGs, for example, maybe he was able to win Poland over a little more on the MiGs. Maybe he was able to win them more over on like this S-300 anti-aircraft missile issue we talked about earlier, where they want to get those from, I forget where we said, was Slovakia or wherever. So I don't know what the aftermath is, but my suspicion is he would have had some asks, and certainly it helped him build a better relationship with these leaders, which can be very helpful. There are more. Rebecca. Been chatted that volunteer troops are having passports taken and cut up, not by Ukraine, not being allowed to leave. I don't know anything about that. You mean the volunteer troops from around the world who came to volunteer and showed up in Ukraine? And sorry, my lips are getting dry. And someone in Ukraine is cutting their passports up and not letting them leave? Or are you saying their passports are getting cut up in the country they're coming? Either way, I haven't heard about that. I've actually seen interviews with some of these troops on the shows. CNN's done interviews with some of them. The Ukrainian army has also let some of them be photographed. They showed like a group of them, and like one guy was Portugal, one was Brazil, I think, and I forget the other one, but they were showing this group they put together from all over the world that was already equipped with their uniforms and everything. So they're definitely already using some. I know, and this was probably a week ago, there were something like 20,000 people who applied, but the Ukrainians have to vet them in part. But I did not see anything about that. And again, the question would be whether you mean it's now the US has said we don't want people going over, and the Brits have said that too. So I think the countries themselves, we worry. I could imagine we would worry that an American would get captured. And all of a sudden, even though we say they don't work for us, Russia says it's a CIA spy. And it becomes this big story. It becomes leverage, this kind of thing. That it gives them a talking point, but it also becomes leverage against us because they've got Americans hostage. We worry that what if one of these irregulars going over there that it maybe doesn't have a military background does commit a war crime against the Russians or something? And the Russians, again, are able to come after us and use that as propaganda when our normal troops, hopefully, are better trained and wouldn't do such things. So, who knows? But I just don't know. But I mean, that would be some of my thinking as to why, at least on the U.S. side, maybe we'd be trying to stop them. There are several more questions here. I am scrolling down to you folks. And I will not stop for the friendly. We will not do our post cafe, our little chat afterwards until we finish all the questions, at least these questions. Helena asks, what's happening with the Syrian fighters? So I was just reading today, I was reading about one guy in particular who's apparently, famous in Syria, who was going to be coming over supposedly. Supposedly, we had heard last week that supposedly Putin had asked for Syrian fighters to come over and help fight the war. Initially, people weren't sure whether that meant he was having Syrians come or whether it was Russian mercenaries in Syria. Now, initially, I heard it was Russian mercenaries in Syria who were coming, and they would be pretty hardened men and kind of scary because they're the people who would go in and obliterate the city like they did in Syria, in Kyiv. I'm not sure now, but I am 99% sure I saw a photo today of somebody they were advertising that, he was on his way and he's Mr. Big Expert and everything else. Having said that, I doubt Syria has got a lot of room to just give up fighters. I mean, their thing is still a mess. But overall, I'm a little worried just because the Russians do have a troop shortage. So they're going to try to fill them with people from other places. Maybe part of the question becomes, have they done enough maneuvers with all of these troops that they can fit? Like the Chechen troops. They're bringing in the Chechen troops. They already have. Some of them have already been killed by the Ukrainians. Did the Chechen troops operate well enough with the mainstream Russian troops? Do these Syrian troops, have they trained enough with the Russians that they actually can come over? I mean, they've trained, I guess, they've done battle together in Syria, so maybe they're trained there. But you'd wonder about how well they would work together. I don't know. But no, other than that guy today I saw that was heading over, there hasn't been any great talk about the outsiders making any difference yet. That's for sure. Actually, that was one thing I did see one of the experts saying the last couple of days. They felt like the outside troops coming in were insignificant, that they just weren't a significant number that would make a difference. That was an important point. Tony, as someone who grew up in China, that's interesting. China will go with the money. Business is most important to them. Well, that's what I'm thinking. I mean, right, this gets back to our question of whose side is China going to be on. I mean, I had said last week, I would not be surprised if initially when Putin met with Xi in China before the Olympics and they reached their deal and Putin said, okay, for example, I will hold off on the war until after the Olympics, but I want something in return, right? And at the same time, if I were the Chinese, I would have said, well, actually, I want something in return because you're invading another country. The whole world's going to hate you and you're going to want an ally. So there must have been some deal worked out. Now, because things are so bad there, and frankly, if I were the Chinese, I'd be a little worried about what this says about Taiwan. I don't want to get off into the whole Taiwan-China thing, but Taiwan, the Chinese consider to be a breakaway province that they want to get back someday. Most of the world considers Taiwan an independent country, even though China has scared everybody into not calling it one, but it is an independent country. And boy, let's see if I get away with saying that on TikTok. But I wonder if China didn't see what happened here and said, first of all, with regards to Taiwan, holy cow. They came down on Putin in a way I never thought imaginable. And I mean, even personally me, I never thought imaginable. The economic sanctions are outrageous. If they did that to China, China would be a disaster. So China now is rethinking Taiwan. But I also think, as we said earlier, China's rethinking the allegiance with Putin, because clearly the whole world's against Putin. And if China helps him, China could face sanctions too now. And China, and as you said, China goes with the money. That's where the money in the future is. I thought from the beginning, their alliance with Russia is weird. I mean, I get that they wanted somebody to offset us, but Russia? I mean, you took like a third-rate country to be nice people. I visited a couple times, but they're really kind of a third-rate power. They've got nukes, but that's the only, as somebody said the other day, they're only a superpower in that they have nuclear weapons. They're not an economic superpower. They're not a cultural superpower. They just have weapons. And clearly they're not a military superpower. They're a nuclear superpower. So why would, I don't know. I mean, I wish we could work out something with China, but obviously it's tough, especially with Taiwan and other things, because if we could just, cooperate and not fight, imagine what we could do economically, but oh well. Things are easier said than done. Excuse me. But thanks, Tony. That was interesting. And interesting also to get the perspective of somebody who grew up there. Sorry, folks, just scrolling down to the other super chat questions. There may or may not be any more yet. And again, let me know if I forgot. I'm scrolling down to see if there's any more. Otherwise, I hope I didn't forget any. And then I'll just start looking at, and actually then I'll jump up to Instagram to grab one, because if you guys have any on Instagram, because I've been doing all of these. Okay. I've caught up here, I think. Instagram, did you guys have any comments or any questions or anything? I'm happy to. You've been hearing that the volunteers can't. Oh, interesting. Somebody on Instagram heard the same thing about the volunteers not being able to leave. That's interesting. Yes, I am wearing shorts. The Instagram people figured out I'm wearing shorts today. Haha. Okay. Do you think that? Somebody asked about the peace plan that we talked about earlier. And as I said, I think the peace plan is a little weird, because how are we going to, first of all, nobody should believe Russia saying that they're not going to invade again. Oh, this time we invaded, and we invaded the last time in 2014. But the next time we're pissed at you, we're not going to invade. Trust us. BS. And the US and NATO are going to say, well, last time we didn't help you when they invaded. This time we're helping you, but we're not going to go to war. But next time we'll totally go to war if you get invaded by the Russians. So just reach a peace deal. Well, that's not true either, I don't think. So, anyway. All right, guys, give me a sec here. Actually, oh God, it's already 8:20. You know what? All right, I will say this. I will do another question. If you do the super chat, I'm not doing this for money. I'm just because I'm exhausted. It's already 8:20. We've already gone over an hour. You did this to me last night too. You guys got me to talk like for an hour and 40 minutes on the substance, which I never do. I try to keep it to an hour just because I'm keeping my vigor and my verve up. My friend Matt's calling me. My poor friend Matt had COVID last week, but he's better now finally, thank God. All right, let me tell you this. I'm going to take one more question. If anybody puts a super chat, I will answer those no matter what. So if you've got super chat questions, get them in now. I will absolutely do those now. Otherwise, I'm going to find one more question in the comments to answer, and then we're going to switch to our happy chat time where we hang out and chat, and I give you the update on my sister's dog she just got, which I'm very happy to hear. Oh, okay. Oh, that was it. Yeah, the hospital. We don't know. Yeah, Kat had asked about the super. Somebody asked about the super. An update on the hospital hostage situation. There was no news on that today. Yeah, Kat, I discussed it earlier. We don't know. And then I even Googled it. There's no updates. The stories stop about 14 hours ago. And they say there's like 300 or 400 people hostage in the hospital. And there are no stories since then. And I don't know why. Maybe there's just been so much other news today, but it seems a little weird that story went away. Maybe we'll stop with this one. I don't have any news on it, but this is an interesting story. If anybody's got her name, maybe put it in the chat just because I think it's good to share with people. This woman who's with the NBA, Women's NBA, in other words, the National Basketball League Association here in the States. And when our players are, I think Brittany Griner, is that it? Yeah, that's the woman. So when our players are on vacation, when the leagues aren't playing, right? They play a certain season. So they're out of season. A lot of them go abroad and work with other countries' teams and make some extra money. And cute, Amanda. We'll get to that. Oh, that's right. You can see my legs here. I didn't see. Instagram is looking at my shorts. All right. It's gotten warm in DC. So they go to other countries. Well, this woman goes to Russia, plays for a team, I think from Brittany Griner, people are saying here, or Grainer. Goes to Russia, plays for, I believe, the St. Petersburg team. She's leaving the country right as the war starts, and they have video of them opening her suitcase and finding, one of those, I'm losing my words tonight, those inhaling things the vape pens everybody uses. And get this. They tested a minute amount of oil in the vape pen, and it came back positive for hashish. So they've arrested her, and now they've got her hostage. And, clearly they did it. It was trumped up charges. Whether or not there's hashish in that thing, it's trumped up. They grabbed her because they could. They wanted to a vape pen. Exactly. They did it because they wanted a hostage. They wanted somebody to embarrass us, and they want a hostage. And they've already got a couple of business people hostage over there as well. It's absurd on its face that they would go through. First of all, everyone's got vape pens now. So that you'd find a vape pen and you'd say, hey, let's take her in the hostage for a day and have this pen shipped to a lab and tested for hashish. You think they're doing that with everybody who comes through? Everyone's got vape pens. So this was clearly a setup. I've heard no update at all on that. I haven't even seen her, which is a little creepy, actually. Her name hasn't even come up in like the last maybe 4 or 5 days that I've been seeing on the news. And my guess is also that there's no news. The Russians are going to try her. Her family has to get a lawyer, but it's a mess. It's a mess. They're doing it to, thanks, Alyssa. They're doing it to harass her and to, hell, she's gay, which is probably part of the reason because Putin's not a big actually, Putin would love the fact that she's gay. Okay, she's black. There's a lot of racism in Russia. The black thing helps him in the sense of, the perfect American you hate. She's not only an American, she's gay, and Putin hates the gays and is on this big, the West is evil because they're all gay. The lunatic running the Eastern Orthodox Church. I'm Eastern Orthodox, but we have a different head of our church, Greek Orthodox. The Russian Orthodox Church leader gave a speech last week justifying the war and talking about how, Western liberalism and wokeness and gay rights is the reason we had to invade Afghanistan. goofy stuff. So you've got a woman who's black and gay and an American who they can tie to drugs. And she was the perfect person to go after, for Putin's propaganda campaign. So anyway, very bad, very bad. All right, I'm looking at if there are no other legitimate questions, I'll get to the illegitimate questions. I just want to make sure there was not no other, but meaning anything else anybody had purchased. I don't think so. Okay, I think we're good with that. All right, let's switch to the fun part. You guys, actually, and thank you for staying, by the way. YouTube, Instagram, you're at your old number of 11, but I still love you guys, so we'll still keep going. This is the most we've had at this point on YouTube. Usually the number drops, so I appreciate you guys hanging out. Typically at this point, and what we will do is, and I'm going to try to keep my promise this time, hang for maybe 20 more minutes, not an hour, which we usually do, and just shoot the breeze and talk, and the comments, and actually Instagram people too. The comments are really fun on YouTube. It's a good conversation. It's John Aravosis DC, one word, John with an H, Aravosis DC. You've got my name as my Instagram handle. So feel free to come in here because the comments are kind of fun. So prying, where were we here? Was it Amanda? I'm trying to remember, Alyssa. Amanda. So prying Amanda, my hair product. First of all, I'm getting this hair cut. It's driving me insane. I went to somebody like 2 months ago, and he was like a new guy, and he's like, I'm cutting it totally differently. I love you. I was like, okay. And it's this sort of longer than it's ever been thing, but it's now hair that you've got to do this to. And I've never had hair like that. And I get why you see people like doing this all day. No, it's funny. I end up, since we're at our goofy talking personal stuff part, I make my own hair product out of, because I would use stuff, but finally it was silly to buy it, out of beeswax that you buy on Amazon and mineral oil. And I know some people don't like mineral oil, but I'm fine with it. But that way I can make a couple different consistencies. If my hair is long, if it's short, you need something thicker, so it kind of spikes more. If it's longer like this and it's thicker, it'll just become like crazy, spiky 1970s kind of punk rock. So but anyway, I make it myself. It's kind of fun. So, except like I said, I'm going to call tomorrow because I'm sure everyone likes my hair long, but it drives me up the wall. This is one of the problems with curly hair. Everybody thinks your hair is gray curly, except to you, it drives you up the wall. So we'll stop talking about my hair. That's just too, that's too much. What else we got going, guys? I'm still going to do my recipes. Don't worry. They're coming. Oh, my sister. So good news on this. So my poor sister, when we were doing yesterday's show, she messaged all of us that they had put her dog to sleep. 17-and-a-half-year-old Yorkie Poo. Wonderful. Oh, my God. This dog, sweetest dog. Especially my sister was her favorite, but her favorite other people were me, my dad, and my Uncle John. For whatever reason, we were the three guys she would go ape over when we'd come over. Wonderful dog, smart as hell, defensive as hell. Anyway, she had got dementia. It just, she had to be put to sleep. It was very bad at the end. So the good thing was it was time. It wasn't one of those where you say, hey, with some medicine, could you be okay? Well, this was actually yesterday, and I called her after the show, and I told her, I said, from friends I've talked to who have gone through this, they say when they lose a pet that they feel guilty having a new pet, and they think, I want some time off. I don't know if I want to go through the burden again and everything else. And they end up feeling such a hole in their lives because I'm taking that hair product thing off the screen. There's such a hole in their lives because you lose your routine, like with Sasha, right? She sleeps with me at night. And of course, she doesn't come in until I've been asleep for like half an hour. So she comes in, pounces on the bed. She's only 10 pounds, wakes me, stands there looking at me until I wake up and I pet her. Then she lies down, cleans herself for 5 minutes, and then climbs under my blanket. It's like the same thing every day, right? And then when I'm working now, at this time of day, she's usually in the bed over there. Or she's in the bed. The Instagram folks can just see her. She's in my red blanket up there. I don't know if you guys can. I'm always like trying to, so you can barely see. She's in the middle of that red blanket. But you really, I think my guess is you miss all the day-to-day stuff that you don't even realize you're going to miss because you're so used to that day-to-day stuff with the dog. So anyway, wait, my answer did it. Well, my mic popped off. Oh, there we go. Sorry. See, the mic, it should be on now. Sorry. Thank you for that. my Instagram. Sorry, Kiki, I apologize. You had to pay to let me know that. But the mic, yep, and sorry about that. And Becklet too. Okay, now I'm feeling bad. I mean, I appreciate the donation, but yeah, sorry about that, guys. No, what had happened was I reached up or something and it pulled the mic and actually pulled the plug out. So wait, first of all, let me know. Is the mineral oil, is the Instagram back on? Instagram folks, you can hear me now? The mic's plugged back in. Hopefully you can hear me. Yes. Let me know, Instagram. Can you guys hear me though on Instagram? It's fine. Yeah. No sounds in Instagram. I don't know what to do now. Well, no, you know what I'm going to do then? Hold on. I'm unplugging the mic entirely and hoping it switches to my phone's microphone now. Hopefully. I unplugged the mic. Did that not do it? Let me see. All right, I turned my mic off, and now I turned my mic back on, so it should be. How about now, Instagram? Can you guys hear me or not? I've got the mic out, and I simply turned the phone on and off. I know the Instagram folks ought to come to YouTube because it's a pain in the ass. Sorry about that. Any case, I hope it's working now. It's the live is still going. There's no other way to fix the sound. It's not muted, and I've got the my mic is out and everything. So hopefully, sorry about that, Instagram. Well, oh, my sister. So anyway, yeah. So Kathy goes and she actually said, no. I know, getting the dog I know that because she had, they. Growing up, it had several dogs and everything. Sorry, guys. I don't know how to fix that on Instagram. That's crazy. That's crazy. Oh, is it? Anyway, I unplugged it, so at least maybe you're getting the sound through the speaker there. Sorry. So anyway, Kathy said they found a Yorkie poo that she wanted to look at because it's the current dog she has. She wants to get the same dog, for obvious reasons. She really wanted to get the same dog again. And they went today and got it. She got the dog. And oh my God, it's 10 weeks old, because the dogs have to be about 10 weeks old. It's considered best. It's only 1.5 pounds because the dog is expected to grow up to be 5 pounds. Okay, Deborah. Good night, Deborah. Sorry, Deborah's saying good night to all of us from the UK. Everybody wish Deborah good night. Thanks, Deborah. Yeah, sorry, Instagram folks. There's nothing else I can do. I've got a picture. Well, you know what? Instagram folks, if you can't hear me, I'm going to sign off, okay? Sorry. Yeah, sorry about that. Oops. 1 second, guys. I'm just going to write so I can at least put this up. And so I'm going to say Ukraine update. 1 moment. Put my glasses on. I will post this, and then I can show you the picture on my phone. See, it helps to have the phone. It's just when I'm doing these things like this, I've been using the phone for Instagram. So it's up there. Now, okay, let me see. I've got picture. I want her to send. Yeah, my nephew's saying, thanks, Anthony. My nephew's saying Instagram has no sound. Everyone's telling me the same thing. Yeah, that mic thing got screwed up. So, oh well. So the picture. That's a good one. I'm trying to find the best picture she sent us of the dog. She needs to send us video though, so you can get a better shot. But hold on. I think this is probably the best shot where you can see the dog. Yeah, there you can see. I mean, look at that thing. 1.5 pounds of dog. Imagine that. Yorkie poo. So should grow up. Yep, there you go. So should grow up to be. Yeah, that should be good. You shouldn't be getting too much interference there. So should grow up to be 5 pounds, she said, is what she was hearing. So that's the hope. But it's nice, Yeah, I turned off Instagram because the sound, we couldn't get the sound back. So anyway, good night, Deborah, as we said in the UK. God, tomorrow's already St. Paddy's Day? Tomorrow's the 17th. You're right. Wow. I don't have any green clothes anyway, but still, wow. Yeah, he's like a little Ewok, I know. No, I'm so glad for her because, oh my God, she was, she called me last week, or I called her last week when they went to the vet and found out the dog had to be put down. And it was just like, oh my God, horrible. All right, Claudia, we'll get since you had sent the question in, we'll do a serious one. Opinion on White House stating only sending defensive weapons to prevent escalation. Yeah, I mean, I've talked about that a lot in the past. I am annoyed by it. So the issue here is the White House, NATO, but I suspect it's the White House, doesn't want to send these MiG fighter jets we have from Poland. Does not want, and actually, Claudia's got green today for St. Patrick's Day tomorrow. Doesn't want to send these jets from Poland, to Ukraine, in large part because they think it's too much of a provocation and could get Russia into the war. The problem with that, as far as I see, is give me a break. And a lot of the people on TV have said the same thing. They're like, and they've asked the generals, the former generals, all agree with me. They've said, so we can send them rocket-propelled grenades that blow up Russian soldiers. That's okay. Yeah. We can send the Ukrainians Javelin missiles that shoot in the air and blow up tanks and kill the men inside. Yep. But we can't give them, and we can send them drones that kill men inside vehicles. But we can't send them MiG fighter jets that blow up men in vehicles. That would be an affront and a cause of war and everything else. That's just BS. And I think it is BS. It's just, my only guess is that the Russians have said something so, horrible privately to Biden that they've literally said, if you give them the fighter jets, we're going to blow them up and we're going to blow the base that they're coming from in Poland. And they literally told him that, and the Americans freaked out. But that also bothers me because then it means we're blinking at the Russians making threats. And I do not think the appropriate response to the Russians saying, no. If we're not attacking you, you don't attack us. You attack NATO, it's war. But, Sasha is sleeping. She's still sleeping in the bed back there. I'll only get when she gets up and starts walking around, Yeah, Maya, I agree. Or Myra, I agree. I think it's splitting hairs. I think if you're talking about the weapon, exactly. But again, the MiGs are a weapon too far, but the Javelins aren't. And these drones that are kamikaze drones to take them out aren't. I mean, we being the West, my dog is Sasha. Hers is she's calling Layla because Layla in a number of languages means dark. And the dog's black, has a little white chin and then like a white stripe here and the little white paws. Very cute. So my TikTok name is Erevosis, just my last name. There's a lot of fakes on there, but you'll know mine because mine's the one that actually has followers. But yeah, that's my TikTok name. And I'm a blinker. If you mean I've been blinking, I don't know if you mean me, but I blink a lot when I'm on lights and stuff like that. So could be. What else we got, guys? Again, I'll do another 10 minutes, but then I really do want to go rest because we're already at the hour and a half mark. Or we could just chat. Someday I'll do my food updates. I promise. Just haven't gotten to it yet because I've still also got to do my. I've still got to contact several of you who contacted me about moderating, but somebody else had recommended that I actually do. I'm not sure what that's about, Wendy, but okay. Somebody had recommended that Wendy got my mind off of this, that I actually talked to the moderators before I let them in because I've already had the problem on TikTok that we clearly had a Russian who was a moderator who I picked by accident who was banning people. And somebody else who was watching said, oh God, he had the same problem. Like he picked the wrong person. They were banning everybody. And he said, from now on, you've got to talk to the moderators by phone and just check out that they're real people. And at least an American phone. I mean, I hate to say foreigners can't or non-Americans, but it's got to be somebody probably easier for us having Americans because we really can hear their English and see if there's anything. I mean, I'm actually very, with the languages I speak, I'm very good at hearing funny things with English, like in the comments. I'm expert. The problem is it could be immigrants, but I'm expert at finding a foreign accent in written English. It's one of my odd skills I have. So just little quirks of accents come through and you go, doesn't mean you're a bad person, but I may treat the moderators like the presidency. You've got to be American born only because, like I said, it's the only accent that I know how to check out. The rest of you, I wouldn't, if you were a Russian pretending to be English, I'd be like, okay, that sounds English to me. What else is going on, guys? Just people talking about your dogs and St. Patty's Day. Well, Michaela, if you want, send me you can send me yeah, I've made send me an email. Like I said, it's my last name at Gmail. If you want. Hey, New Zealand. Oh, thank you, Sonia. Appreciate it. Well, and this is the part of the show where we're all just hanging around chatting at this point. So we got sort of beyond the heavy stuff, and we like to kind of just hang out as a group and talk for 20 minutes or an hour, as it's been lately. I'm trying not to do an hour today. But so if anybody's just arriving and is confused what's going on, TikTok broadcaster that was interviewed on CNN, no. Was it anybody good? I hope. Aaron, you weren't the Russian. Okay. Of course, isn't that what they'd say, Aaron? No, when I get back on TikTok, and hopefully, thank you for complaining. Well, as I told folks, the TikTok ban, actually, I'm going to check my email too. I'd gotten off my email with you guys last night. My email. Oh, shit. I shouldn't leave the stream. Sorry. Every time I leave the stream, it cuts you guys off. Sorry. Christina in Kyiv. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's really interesting. Let me check. And thank you for that, Jonathan. Let me check my email right now and see, because last night when I got off with you guys, I had an email from TikTok saying, oh, everything's fine. You should, your live stream should work perfectly. And the weird thing was well, first of all, it was good that I had a human being reach out to me, because I was like, holy crap, there's actually a human being working at TikTok. This is amazing. And they said, if for any reason you're having problems with the live stream still, please write us back. So I wrote them back. And the thing that's making me suspicious, I'm just looking here to see if there's any emails from TikTok while we've been talking. Sadly, no. Nope. So wait, actually I checked my other email too. I don't think so. So the issue with TikTok, they said, was, and I meant to put up the banner for all of my links. There we go. They said that there were no violations in my account, that my account was fine. And they said, oh, there's no violations in your account. Your account's clear. You should be fine to live stream. Well, I was talking to my nephew about it. We were both going, that's a little weird that you're looking at my account, and my account's totally, there's not even any violations in the account, but somehow, and the live stream should be working, but magically it's not. Somehow it got turned off last week. And it almost makes you wonder if it was somebody higher up who did it and why they did it. I don't know. I'm hoping it's a computer glitch, but it's a pretty weird computer glitch, So anyway, the good part is the fact that I got that email, and a lot of my friends who have like 1 million followers on Twitter contacted a woman on TikTok who may never divulge her identity again publicly, I suspect, but because she had weighed in and said, hey, I'm new at TikTok. And I responded, and then they saw my response and they weighed in just to let her know, like, hey, this guy's like, he's not a hate speech guy. You totally, attacked his account for no reason, helped the Russians. So anyway, we're hoping that that's gonna get fixed now. But I think that was at least a good sign. My favorite meal. Hold on, make sure nobody else sent anything in. I just saw it doesn't always stick them at the top. It's annoying. My favorite meal. That's a tough one. I mean, I love Italian food. I love good Italian food. Now, it's funny when you said meal, my thought immediately went to dessert, because that's my favorite meal is dessert. And it would be something gooey, chocolatey, gooey, although cheesecake. Mom's got an amazing, yet another recipe I will share with you. Mom has an amazing cheesecake recipe that's New York cheesecake. So that really thick, heavy cheesecake, cream cheese, not ricotta. I'm just not a fan of ricotta. I think it waters it down kind of. And it's thick, tart, creamy, a little, just sweet enough, graham cracker crust. Oh, to die for. But I would say it'd be Italian. It would be some kind of Italian creamy pasta dish would be my fave. A really good spaghetti carbonara is to die for, but I've rarely had one in America. Forget it. And even in Italy, they're iffy. But an excellent spaghetti carbonara in Italy kind of fits that boat. But actually, any really good, pasta dish, tortellini with cream and something in Italy. Oh, yeah. And then chocolate at the end. That probably is my favorite meal. Although I do love Greek food too. Like my mom will make Greek food, or I'll make it with her when I'm home in Chicago. And two Greek, pasticcio and moussaka are very good. And I make all of them, lots of Greek food. So, well, the problem is I'm also having to teeter. I've got to be careful because I like to make stuff. So I told you the one time I made the cheesecake, I actually did cut it up and save it. I was proud of myself. I mean, I ate a big piece, but I cut it up because they said online to basically cut your cheesecake and separate the pieces a little, like on that round cheesecake thing. Put it in your freezer for a while so they firm up. Then you take them out and wrap them in saran wrap. And it's not like they fall apart gooey because they're hard now, but you can wrap them in saran wrap and then just put them in Ziploc bags. And that way, I know you'd think you're going to eat them all for breakfast, and you might. But that way I was able to eat them like over the next month or two, by like every few days. And then it was great. I forgot about it. And like 3 weeks later, I found one and I was like, yes, cheesecake. So that was kind of fun. Oh yeah. So the reason I put the links up is there's a number of, that's my, and that is not a link you can click on. It's a total pain, but nonetheless, the service is pretty good otherwise, because it allows me to, I'm not actually on YouTube with you guys. I'm on this website called StreamYard that you subscribe. It's like $50 a month, but so far it's been worth it for doing this. And it's streaming me to Facebook, to Twitter, to YouTube all at the same time, which is nice because that way I can, and it doesn't do Instagram and it doesn't do TikTok. So when TikTok picks up again, I'm going to be doing TikTok on my phone, and I'll be doing this with YouTube via this service, and Facebook still, in case folks are watching there. Forgot what I was saying with all of that then. Cheesecake. Oh, the links. Yeah. So the links, you can't click on these links, but you can, it's an easy enough URL. You can copy it. I've got a number of links in there. Typically, this is the link that you will see in my profile on TikTok. The top 2 links are almost always going to be the live of the day on YouTube, and in this case, Instagram. Once TikTok unbans me, obviously TikTok itself, I'll have the live there, but I'll still let you know when the YouTube one is. And then I've got 2 links for the Ukrainian government that are really kind of cool, which I like a lot. Ukrainian government, National Bank of Ukraine, I went to their website and checked, it's real, has set up 2 accounts. One, if you want to donate humanitarian relief to the relief effort in Ukraine, the money goes to their Ministry of Social Health or Social Work, whatever it's called, and that'll be humanitarian relief. The other is an account they set up for people around the world to donate to the Ukrainian military, which I thought was wild. And I immediately was like, I'd love to do that. I would love to. So I donated like $100 to the Ukrainian military. I Googled. I was confident for myself. I felt confident that it was legal. I would never give you legal advice. Obviously, Google yourselves. But I felt confident from what I read. I felt safe enough for myself. The one thing they recommended was if you've got a security clearance, especially if you're an American, but possibly foreigners as well. I don't know what law is in other countries, but in the US, if you've got a security clearance, you're not supposed to be giving money to foreign governments. So even though you'd be giving it for them for this relief, even if it's not the military, it could mess up your clearance. So you probably should avoid it in that case. But if you don't have a clearance, like I said, I did it. But you will see the 2 links in my thing. And then, there's Venmo and Cash App, because some folks had asked about that you could still support my work that way. My LinkedIn, my Instagram, and maybe that's it. I don't know. Facebook. I don't know if Facebook's on there or not. I probably should put Facebook, but they're all on there. So what we're, somebody else said yesterday, people were saying YouTube doesn't send notifications. Yeah. Now, somebody did say with YouTube, which is really annoying, is it sends you a notification like either 5 minutes before the live starts or something crazy, which is totally useless because you'd want it like the day before that you could put it in your calendar, So I don't know why YouTube doesn't do that. I don't know what's up with that. It's too bad because it would be a nice way of doing it. See, Wendy, I thought the same thing. Somebody else had said the other day, I was like, crowdfunding a war. I mean, and it almost sounds crazy, but at the same time, it's kind of cool because let's face it, I'm sorry, this is a just war on the Ukrainians' part. I have no problem, whether you like war or not, most of us, I hope, don't like war. The Ukrainians are just, this is black and white. There's no question. And I have no problem donating to support the Ukrainian army or posing a link that others can choose to do if they so wish, So I think it's pretty cool that we can get together from around the world and help these guys. And again, if you just want to do humanitarian, that's fine too. But how cool. I mean, again, when I was a kid, we would, we'd have pen pals. And in school, like once a year, we'd have pen pals or something where, and thank you, Shannon, that's sweet of you. Oh, and thank you. The Substack, I've got to start writing again. I've been doing these and my TikToks all day long that I keep not writing Substack. Tomorrow, I am going to write my Substack. I'm even writing myself a note. So help me God, I have to do my Substack tomorrow. At least do an update for folks. But, and this is what happens when I get tired, and then I get tired and I go off topic. I mean, I don't go off topic. I mean, I forget what I was talking about. I don't know what I was talking about. Bread pudding. I've also got the bread pudding recipe I use is the Silver Pallets recipe, which is just still the best I've ever had. Fabulous. Easy and fabulous. Oh, the notification thing we were talking about. Yeah. Oh yeah, you can subscribe to my newsletter too. That's there, my Substack. It's free. If you want to pay, you'll get all the updates. If you don't, you'll get the free ones. Normally, I try to do a couple a week. It's been a little less now. It's been a little less now because I've been doing this stuff, but I've got to write a piece tomorrow. I've just got to, because it's been too long and I feel bad for the folks there, So, all right, guys, maybe one more thing and then let's go to bed. Let's call it quits because we are already heading to the forbidden 2-hour mark. I said I wasn't going to do it. There's nothing up on the MiGs. The MiGs are still dead. The only question becomes with the MiGs, the Polish MiGs, is that's what I was wondering is whether absolutely positively Zelensky would have tried to make that meeting yesterday when the Polish prime minister came to Kyiv. Zelensky would have grabbed him privately and done everything he could to get those MiGs. And the question becomes, did it work? Was there anything he was able to do to convince the Polish leader to help him? And I don't know, right? And frankly, they need to stop talking about it publicly because that was just not helpful at all. It was, they talking about it publicly only gave Putin the chance to bomb more airfields so that they can't use the MiGs, So, the pen pal. Thank you, Herides. Yeah, when I was a kid, the school once a year would get pen pals. And they were like, I think I had like a kid in France once who never wrote back. I was like, thanks. But you'd get kids in schools over there and you'd write a letter. And it was so funny because like you'd write a letter to France and it would take a week or two to get there. And maybe then a week. So like in a month or two, you'd get a letter back. It was this whole like, woo, I never got it back. Some people did, but that's how we did it back then. And now like we're all connected. You'd talk to your friends by phone and it was that horrible echo and the kind of, actually probably like how this is going where you're probably seeing me like a second or two behind, but on the phone it would do that. And now that we're just all together crowdfunding wars is just bizarre to me. So, and cool, but just totally bizarre. Good. People are trying to give each other advice as to how to get the notifications. That's good. A meet and greet, you mean in person, Claudia? You know what I did? What's funny? I did used to do those with my blog. What's funny? I never did it in DC. I'd done some in New York. I did some in San Francisco when I travel. And they were really fun. Actually, we got like, I don't even know, like 20 or 50, like maybe 50 people in San Francisco showed up, 20 people in New York. It was fun. And I don't know why I never kept doing it. And I should have. I would do it with these. Now, my only concern of that is I've been a bit of a COVID chicken, So, I've been very careful about doing things inside. If I did it, I'd want to go like to the local park or something. I still don't want to eat inside restaurants if I can help it. It scares me. So that would be the downside. I would want us to be outside, but outside I have no problem. But that's an interesting idea. That could be kind of fun to do. And probably, thank you, Lindsay, and probably harder for the Russians to come harass us in person. We'd know who the Russians, and actually, if you're in person, what are you going to do? You can't really troll. Good luck doing trollish comments in person, right? So that would be kind of fun, actually. Maybe we will. We could do Zooms, but this is the meet and greet Zoom, so to speak, right? I kind of feel like that's what the after hour is thing that we do. Pinch John Day was because you don't have to wear green. You don't have. Oh, I didn't realize that was the St. Patrick's Day thing. I should know that. I'm from Chicago, so I should know this. You pinch the person who's not wearing green? I've never heard that before. Wow. I don't have enough Irish. There aren't a lot of Irish in my neighborhood. I'm from a German part, sort of I didn't grow up German, but meaning Germanic part of the Chicagoland area where I'm from. The south side of Chicago is the Irish part. So you probably get, you're pinching there. That I was just thinking you're like, pinch John Day. I'm like, okay, Wendy. It's a little saucy, but okay. I'd be like, at least pay $10 for that pinch, Wendy. That's very funny. I just had never heard that about St. Patty's Day. Yeah, I used to have like a green Izod shirt years ago, but I don't being Greek, green does not go with my skin very well. We're kind of green. We have a greenish hue to start with. Green is not our color. So I learned that many years ago. We are dark colors. Yellow can work. Red sometimes. Blue, navy blue, great on Greek people. Green, not that color. All right, guys. One more thing, and then I swear to God I'm going here. Oh, thank you, Kim. I appreciate that. What else we got here, guys? We could all not wear pants together on Zoom, Mary. Yeah. The thing is, it's nicely warm here. I like the jacket just because I feel like it adds a little bit of something. But although Jackets and T-shirts have never been my thing, really. It's a little too Miami Vice. But 80s, never heard of it either. Yeah, St. Patty's Day is the 17th here. Oh, yeah. It's a wonderful show. Yeah, the Americans, by the way, is a wonderful show. It's about basically KGB in the 1980s and a KGB family, like KGB parents, that's infiltrated the U.S. and they pass as Americans, but they do all sorts of assassinations for the KGB. Excellent show. Very, very complicated. You know, their allegiances and all of that. Really neat show. Went 5 seasons. And even the ending was good. It was a wonderful show. So I recommend that to everybody. Yeah. But exactly. They would trick you and then they'd kill you. So, you know, and Kim, I think if I didn't thank you, Kim, thank you for that. I don't know who I've been thinking now. All right, guys, let's call it quits. All right. Again, 8:52. You got me for another 2 hours. I don't know how you guys get me to do this. All right. You know what I was thinking tomorrow, just for yucks, my nephew was telling me because he's out west. He was saying that rather than jumping back and forth between 6 and 7, try a later time. Now, the risk is, I know during the week, the weekend we get the Europeans. That's not a problem. Weekdays, I know it's a problem for the Europeans. But evenings can be a problem for the Americans because the Americans, like the TV show, when we start at 7 o'clock, that's 4 o'clock in California. Like people are still at work and can't check it. Well, at work. I guess we're all at home. So just for the only thing, okay, I was going to say 8 o'clock tomorrow. My only concern about doing 8 o'clock tomorrow is I don't want to be on here until 10 p.m. because then I'm going to be like wired at 10 p.m. So I would consider doing 8 o'clock. I mean, let me ask for like the Americans. Does 8 o'clock make it any better? You know? All right. Bye, Pauline. I'm closing up anyway, so you guys don't have to hang out. But just to like in the comments, does 8 o'clock make it any real better? I know for the problem is for the Europeans, it makes it harder because with the time change, we went ahead, but Europe didn't. So at least for the next couple of weeks, yeah, it's 2:50. That's what I mean. Finland is just crazy. I mean, I know Alaska. Well, this is the same for, let me stick with 7 then. Yeah. I'll stick with 7 because at least some of the Europeans, it's getting late, but it's not the end of the world. And then the weekends, I always have been doing around 1 p.m. Eastern time US on the weekends because that at least lets the Europeans for sure join in. We could even do earlier. We could even do noon. I wouldn't do morning because I'm not a morning guy. Maybe 11 a.m. Maybe 11 a.m. in the morning. I could consider that too. I guess it just depends what works. Well, we can do. I don't know if TikTok TikTok has polls. I don't know if YouTube has polls, but if it does, I can maybe try one tomorrow and see what people feel about for the weekend. Whether like a little earlier helps the Europeans. You know what I mean? Like if I do noon, is that better than 1 o'clock U.S. time? Bye, Erica. But we'll see. I like to be able to get, and even Americans too. Like I don't know whether 1 o'clock in the afternoon is the middle of your afternoon or whether that's a good time. So we'll see. All right, guys. We are going to do tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern, correct? I'm going to write it down so I don't pick the wrong time. I will set up the whole live thing once I get off. I'll set it up, and so you'll see it. You'll see it on YouTube, and then I'll set up it'll go automatically on Facebook, automatically on YouTube, and I will set it up in that link I put up on the bottom of my screen so you'll know there too. And who knows? I'm going to look one more time at my email, and if we're lucky, there's always a chance that we could be live on TikTok tomorrow if the TikTok gods are willing, inshallah. No TikTok gods yet? Nope. Well, hopefully. I've got friends that keep weighing it. All right, guys. All right. I did today. What I did today on TikTok, which I think helped because we got more people today. I'd forgotten yesterday. I didn't post it. So I put one that just said, hey, doing my live tonight. Here's what's going on. Check the link for where I didn't even say Facebook. I think I said, just check the link for further instructions where we're going to be. And it seemed to have worked. Thank Nicholas. Appreciate it. Good night, Denmark. I know another place. I've been to the Danish airport. Gorgeous airport. That's all I know of Denmark. Someday I'll be there too. All right, guys. Good night, everybody. I'm going to sign off, okay? We'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you as always.